This man, I'm not going to call them a fan, but this man flew from out of state and went to the 100 Thieves compound, which is kind of just the headquarters for her organization. And she gets warned that this guy was looking for her. People at 100 Thieves end up calling the police, with the guy then going back to the airport, but seemingly he had no intentions to actually get back on the plane, with Valkyrie explaining.
He ended up staying at the airport for multiple days and recording videos of himself saying like, I'm not leaving until Ray picks me up. Like, I know that she wants to see me. And it's like really crazy.
And she goes on to say she's never interacted with this person, but in his videos, he kept saying that she wanted him there and they should go to Coachella together. And adding that she thinks that he may have been struggling with mental health issues, but the whole thing reminded her just how vulnerable you can be as a public figure and online creator.
Like seeing the videos, like him recording himself, like really reminded me like anyone could watch you. Anyone could watch you and build some sort of like parasocial mindset with any streamer or content creator that they watch, and it's dangerous.
And unfortunately, this feels like more and more of the norm, whether it be online creators or of course the mainstream people. Right, just in the last little bit, like we talked about the Amaranth situation, there was Ariana Grande having someone arrested a second time for breaking into her home. A man accused of stalking Taylor Swift was also arrested earlier this month. The fucking David Beckham situation's bizarre. There's this wild report about an alleged stalker claiming that David Beckham's sperm had fused with her eggs, with reports saying that she ended up getting hit with a restraining order after she went to his daughter's school claiming to be her mom. Like, what the actual fuck is happening right now? And so that's why with this story, of course, yes, I'd love to know your thoughts in general, but also I think it's important to highlight the really dark side of parasocial relationships we see from content creation. We should also today talk about big emergency number news, right? Like we all know if there is an active shooting or McDonald's is out of the McRib, you call 911. But starting tomorrow, you've also got another option, 988. With that meant to be a new alternative to the 10-digit National Suicide Prevention Hotline, right? So if you're feeling suicidal or you're having any other mental health crisis, you can call or text that quick, memorable number just like you would with 911 and get connected to a trained professional, which is something that many say we desperately need right now because the mental health crisis in the US was worsening even before the pandemic and COVID only intensified that. Yo, someone dies from suicide roughly every 11 minutes. It's the second leading cause of death for those aged 10 to 14 and 25 to 34. And currently the majority of people experiencing a mental health emergency turn to 911, which can then lead to them dealing with law enforcement who aren't trained for that or ending up in an emergency room waiting hours or days for care. And so you have this woman who's taken calls for the hotline and contemplated suicide herself, telling NBC.
I think just the mere existence of it as a mental health crisis helpline is going to do a lot because it's saying we're making mental health as important as 911 emergencies. It's just going to normalize mental health support. You don't feel shame for calling 911. You shouldn't feel shame for calling 988.
You've also got the Secretary of Health and Human Services saying at a recent press briefing, 988 won't be a busy signal and 988 won't put you on hold. You will get help. But some are skeptical whether the lifeline can actually deliver on that promise, saying however well-meaning it is, if there aren't enough resources to respond to a large volume of calls, people could be left stranded. Or because ever since the original hotline was launched in 2005, call centers have gotten barely any federal funding, with some being forced to shut down, which is why recently you had this employee at the only call center left in North Carolina saying that any calls that they can't take will be bounced to other parts of the country, and adding,
Are you ready for 988?
No, we don't have the funds for operational staff yet. Our concern is that the youth won't wait to be transferred, or that someone who's done something to end their life, like taking the pills, that they would die because we can't get them routed to the emergency services that they need.
And as it stands right now, there are over 200 crisis centers across the US, with a 2021 report finding that the current hotline is able to respond to just 85% of calls, 56% of texts, and 30% of chats. And here's the thing, if 988 does what it is supposed to do, get more people aware of the lifeline, then the influx of calls and texts are going to skyrocket, with health officials predicting they will at least double in the first year after it launches. But there is some hope here, because earlier this year, Congress began appropriating funds to support call centers in preparation for tomorrow, with HHS saying that more than $400 million have gone towards them so far, and they're bolstering associated services like a sub-network for Spanish-speaking callers. But yeah, I guess the main point of the story is you now know about 988, and if you use that because you're going through something and it saves your life, I saved a life, I am a hero. That's the real reason I'm talking about this story, my ego. Also, if you're looking for a way to remember about 988, let's try and come up with some jingles together. If you're having a mental break, call 988. You know, I was gonna do several of them, but I think we crushed it on the first one. But also, I'm a big believer in the group can come up with a better idea, so give me your best 988 jingle. I'll end next Monday's show with the best of them, because why not? It's random and for a good cause. But from that, I want to take a second to thank the sponsor of today's show, making this extra show possible, Magic Spoon. Magic Spoon is the adult version cereal, meaning it tastes like your favorite childhood cereal, but it's also high in protein, low carb, and has 0 grams of sugar. Basically, tons of nutritional value and none of the sugar rush. And while Magic Spoon does taste too good to be true, it is perfect for busy people looking for a quick, guilt-free snack that keeps you feeling fuller longer. And if you're a cereal anytime person like me, then eat it for breakfast, lunch, or dinner, because why not? Also, aside from the sponsorship, I'm just a subscriber of theirs. My favorite flavor is easily Frosted, but also there's so many good ones. Peanut butter's delicious. They've also just brought back the fan favorite Honey Nut to their permanent collection. Side note, Magic Spoon, just bring back Jelly Donut forever. I've been holding on to one final box like it's a Pokemon card. But also for you beautiful bastards, they have all the OG childhood flavors like cinnamon, blueberry, fruity, and cocoa. And the best part is that Magic Spoon ships directly to your doorstep. So if you love cereal like myself, but you want a healthier, more nutritional option, you gotta check out Magic Spoon. It's affordable with a 100% happiness guarantee. You don't like it, they'll refund your money. So what are you waiting for? Just go to magicspoon.com/DeFranco and enter in code DeFranco to get $5 off any variety pack. And then finally today, we need to talk about this story that's become a major flashpoint in the post-Roe abortion debate. Right, so the situation starts when the Indianapolis Star broke a story on July 1st about a 10-year-old girl in Ohio who became pregnant after being raped and had to travel to Indiana to get an abortion. With this, because reportedly just hours after Roe was struck down, Ohio banned all abortions after 6 weeks with no exceptions for rape or incest. And you had Indianapolis-based OBGYN Dr. Caitlin Bernard telling the Star that she had received a call from the child abuse doctor in Ohio that had seen the girl who, exactly 3 days after the ruling, was 6 weeks and 3 days pregnant. With that story then beginning to spread on social media, prompting outrage for many abortion supporters, including President Biden himself, who directed even more attention to the story after referencing it in a speech about abortion rights. But on the other side of this, we saw tons of pro-birth conservatives beginning to cast doubt on the story, saying that Dr. Bernard did not give documented details and there did not appear to be a criminal complaint connected to the allegation. Though there we saw many noting that there are numerous reasons why such documents would be hard to come by, especially when it comes to the rape of a minor, saying it could include the family's desire to keep the story under wraps, the fact that it is illegal for many official reports to be disclosed publicly until they become part of legal proceedings, and health laws that protect medical records from public view, with in fact Bernard herself even citing those medical record protections when asked to corroborate her story by reporters. But still, with that at the time, we saw conservative politician after conservative politician saying this story was a lie. This including Ohio Attorney General Dave Yost, who is the top prosecutor in the state, who told reporters earlier this week that there was not a whisper of evidence to support the story and that it was more likely than not a fabrication, as well as Ohio Representative Jim Jordan calling the story another lie. And you know, it wasn't just the lawmakers. We saw many conservative commentators and outlets using their platforms to claim that this story was a lie, with this including some of the most prominent and highly watched Fox News hosts like Tucker Carlson and Jesse Waters, who both suggested the story was a hoax, with also other media organizations owned by the right-wing Murdoch family echoing that narrative, such as the New York Post publishing an article titled "Activist Tale of a 10-Year-Old Rape Victim's Abortion Looks Like a Lie." But then you had the Columbus Dispatch first reporting that a 27-year-old man had been arrested after police said that he had confessed to raping the child on at least 2 occasions. And on Wednesday, the man who is currently being held on a $2 million bond was arraigned at a Columbus court where he was charged with felony rape of a child under 13 years old, for which he could face life in prison. And in a video of the arraignment on Wednesday, a Columbus police detective testified that the suspect had indeed admitted to raping the girl twice and that the girl herself had identified him as her rapist. The officer also confirming that the abortion had taken place on June 30th, one day before the article was published in the Star, with him adding that despite conservatives repeatedly claiming that there was no evidence for this story, the police had actually been referred to the case by Child Services, which had been contacted by the girl's mother on June 22nd. Also very notably here, the prosecutor said that the girl had only recently turned 10, meaning she may have actually been 9 when she was impregnated. And so we ended up seeing shortly after that as many of the conservatives who spread the narrative that this was all a lie quickly backtracking. Ohio Attorney General Yost doing a full 180, saying that his heart aches for the pain suffered by this young child. He also claimed the girl didn't actually have to leave Ohio to get an abortion because the state's medical emergency exemption would apply to her situation. Though you've got people saying it's unknown exactly what part of the law he's referring to, and saying even if that is true, it's obviously unclear to medical providers who would have otherwise not made this poor girl cross state lines. You also had others pointing to Jim Jordan, saying he took it a step further, that he literally deleted his first post without issuing any kind of apology or remark correcting it, with people saying he was trying to act like he was on the right side all along. Meanwhile, Waters, the Fox News host who previously called the story a hoax, bizarrely tried to take credit for putting pressure on the investigation. The New York Post also quietly changing the title of their article. But beyond all that, we saw many conservative figures kind of trying to change the narrative, or some would call it distract, with many of them now trying to focus on the fact that an ICE spokesperson said that the suspect in the case was an undocumented immigrant. Others also shifting focus to Dr. Bernard, with the Attorney General of Indiana even telling Fox News he intended to investigate her, implying that she failed to report the abortion to the state. And even though documents obtained by the media have now confirmed that she reported the procedure within the 3-day time frame for patients under 16, the AG's office says its review remains open, which is also why we've seen a number of people condemning those conservatives, this including the likes of Hassan Piker, who put out a series of tweets reading, "A 10-year-old was raped in Ohio, had to get an abortion in Indiana. Republicans, including the Ohio AG, collectively cast doubt on the story. The rapist was caught. Turns out he might be undocumented. Now they quickly switched the attack onto immigrants and the Indiana abortion provider." And going on to say these people are fucking monsters. If there was any justice in this world, every single person that's engaging in this barbaric media campaign would be cursed for 7 generations, never feeling a moment of comfort their entire lives. But that's also not where the messiness with this story ends, because on Thursday, Telemundo reporter went to the home of the man who had admitted to raping the 10-year-old, and the woman who opened the door did not give her name, but said she was the girl's mother, with the woman there seeming to confirm that the child lived in the same house as the suspect, but added emotionally that the girl was fine and that everything they are saying against him is a lie, with her also telling the reporters that she did not file charges against the man. And with that, very notably, the woman did not dispute that the abortion occurred or any of the other details surrounding the matter. And with this, you have plenty of people noting that there are many reasons why she might be lying about this. This including conservative commentator